Running Sentences presents Dark Convent Kingdom Part 3 Escape Plans. Brick tries to get Silvia to go along with his escape plan. Not that he really has much of a plan, but getting out of here seems important, and it's what he wants to do. This story is written and narrated by Michael Honore. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within the story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events is purely coincidental. Copyright 2026, Michael Honore. All rights reserved. Brick flexed his shoulder now that the weight of Silvia was no longer against it. He looked at the grand entranceway hallway space that he was before. It, like the rest of this building so far, had been turned a deep red, with painted walls and black, velvet-looking areas, and it was just generally dark to look at this space where shadow played about, thanks to all the torches that offered such limited light. "I need something explained to me." "What do you need to know, Silvia?" he replied as he moved about this area, looking for anything that might give him a hint on how to get out of here. The door they'd come out of wasn't going to help, and the locked front doors, likewise, not very helpful. That left the stairs going up, and the door on the other side of the room. "Who is doing this?" The king and queen of the kingdom want to have a baby, but they're using other people to do it. All to keep their kingdom alive, or so I think. "That doesn't make any sense to me, mister. There aren't a kingdom anymore because they all died out years ago." What? "The people who led this kingdom, the ones that you're talking about, have been dead for years." "Okay, you saw the king and queen a couple of hours ago, right? You did see them, right? They did not look dead. Kind of looked close to it, but maybe not dead. His mind had reminded himself that they hadn't looked very well either, and could have probably been dead, but he didn't say anything about that. He chose to just let it lie. "I do not remember that. I would remember seeing such a thing." "Fucking magic. Why did you wipe her mind?" Brick complained. "Oh, I didn't, dear Brick. It's an effect of you taking too long to help out. Don't blame me. Also, it may wear off in a while." Brick looked wildly about, trying to see where the voice was coming from, as he was sure that was magic, but he had no luck. "What are you doing now?" "I was hearing voices, Silvia, speaking to me and blaming me for your state of memory loss." "I don't have memory loss." "Let's not get into an argument about that for the moment. We have two important issues. How do we get out of this castle, and how did this country die?" "Well, I can tell you about the country. It was left as a desolate wasteland, according to my father. It's mostly sand and dark, heavy rocks that come out of nowhere. I think there were still many of the original people still alive, but the king and queen, they were executed." "That would give credence to their poor looks that when we saw them. Why wasn't I told about this when dealing with the undead?" "Who would tell you about such things, Mr. Brick, was it?" "Name is Brick, yep. Please don't forget at this time, and there were reports of missing people and lots of fighting going on. So here I am, trying to find out about those things." "And you intend to escape, which is going great from what I can see." He turned and glowered at her, but said nothing about it. That was far too true to actually object to. It would not do any good to do so, and getting out of here was far more important. "You were here longer than I have been, as far as I'm aware. Do you know anything about this place that your memory hasn't forgotten? I need to know where we might be able to escape from." I don't think so." "Think a little bit harder, please. Where was your bedroom in this place? Did it have windows that you could use to get air from? Were you just in a prison cell? What's going on?" She, though, was taking a few steps back, shaking her head under the heavy questioning from him. For his part, also took a few steps forward, holding out his arms like he was trying to grab at her. He didn't know why he was doing that, but that's what his pose was at the moment, and he realized that, so he came to a stop from that. I think there was a bedroom of some set up a set of stairs from what I think I remember. It's all sort of blurry, and I know what I saw. I saw a few hallways. Where are these memories coming from, though? I do not know. Did something happen to me? Is that where I'm getting all of this from? Yes. You were kidnapped by people working for the king and queen of this country, who then attacked you. So a country that no longer exists has people that attacked me. Yeah, that's kind of what happened, so yes. We should get upstairs and find what is potentially your room. Maybe it will give us a direction and get us out of here, from here, and, maybe revive your memory a little bit more, Brick said hopefully. Do you really think that's possible? She gave him a questioning look as she asked this. I have no idea anymore, but I'm thinking that there are no windows on this floor, since I didn't see any from the direction that we came from, so come on. What if I don't want to? Brick offered a shrug. Then stay here and get caught by the people who are, running this country, or the citizens of this country who vanished when a lot of magic was being thrown at us, or at you more specifically. I doubt they will be gone for long. They probably want to come back and, take you, I think. Silvia hesitated for a second, a grim frustration frown crossing her face. There wasn't any time for that for Brick, though, as he clambered up the staircase, 2 at a time. The landing at this top of these stairs was plush, and its carpet area was nice. There was also another step to go in the hallway that extended out to the left and then to the right. Both of these were lit by torches, providing no elders on a way to escape. Silvia, do you know which way to your room? Does any of this look familiar to you? Hold on, I'm still climbing up these steps. There's a lot to walk up. How did your legs not fall off going up these 2 by 2? Huh? He replied as he looked back. Oh, yeah, they're sore and they hurt all right, but I figured it's best to ignore that. Her hand grabbed at his arm, helping steady her as she reached this top. As helpfully as he could, and trying to make sure he didn't look like he was trying something out on her, he steadied her with his arm. It just so happened that his arm went around her waist. Right, does this hallway look like the one we were in a few minutes ago? Sadly, yeah, it kinda does. And you want me to point out where my broom is from this? Keeping her steady, he offered a frown and a shrug of sorry. He wasn't looking at him, though, and staring off down the hallway to her left. I guess let's pick one and try it out. Worst things that will happen is that we have to come back here, right? Brick said. I doubt the worst thing that can happen is coming back here. Did you say something about the undead being after us? Or the regular citizens, or something like that? Yeah, they vanished, so maybe they're gone, maybe they're here, maybe they turned undead or something. You don't really know what happened to them, he said. She turned, giving him a thoughtful look before shaking her head and breaking free from his grasp. You don't really believe that? No, I don't. Better to hope, though, that it's not true. You're saying you're the type to go by the seat of your pants without thoughts or hopes, just jumping in head first? Is that it, Mr. Brick? I might do that thing on a bad day. A good day, I'm more methodical and thought out. Then this is a very bad stretch of days for you, then? Bad life is more like it, Silvia, but let's not waste time on that. She merely nodded and pointed off towards the left. They made their way a bit slowly down this hallway, occasionally checking on doors that they found. A few of them led into grand rooms, which Silvia would shake her head at. At other times, there were fairly pleasant spaces, stuffed with linens and other sundries that looked like they'd been there for a long, long time. This place feels so dead, the princess said. Yeah, it's not good, is it? You think the dead are going to be wandering these halls soon looking for us? Or once dead citizens? I can't rule it out considering what you told me about the king and queen, he replied with uncertainty. Yes, about that. I was thinking I'm starting to remember a bit more, and that you acted all lost when you woke up here, yet you've been sort of saying you were sent here on a mission? Maybe. What does that mean? They stopped by another door, which Brick threw open as an excuse to get away from the conversation, and they peered into a dark interior lit by a few torches and a fireplace with a roaring fire in it. You could make out a rather huge bed on the center of it, which looked really comfortable at this point. His body suddenly feeling the weight of having been kept moving and awake for so long. It means that I've lied a lot in my life, and some truth bleeds through in those lies. That doesn't explain anything. She took a step back and away from him as he glanced over towards her. Well, you've lied to me as well, don't pretend you haven't. Oh yeah, what did I lie about? What you knew about all of this when we met? I don't remember that, though. I'm sure you're forgetting it and making our life much easier, even though you just said that you're remembering more things about our first meeting. I'm doing it to protect myself. Brick rolled his eyes. I'd ask from what, but the only thing you would answer is me, so I'm going to make a proposal. What is it, then? I'm exhausted, and I don't know about you, but I've been run ragged around this place and need to recharge. You want to sleep in this room? She asked. Yeah, it isn't perfect, but I need a small respite from what's going on for an hour or several. And what am I supposed to do, Mr. Brick? Whatever you want. You can come in, find a spot to sleep, or walk around. I honestly don't care. Yet your job might have been to rescue me? She charged past as she asked this, going into the bedroom. At that, Brick had to shake his head and shrug. He sort of had been, but he wasn't about to tell her that. There would have to be a conversation soon about each other, and the truth that needed to be said. The stone flooring of this bedroom could easily be felt through the thin carpet that had been placed down. This room, which had looked so nice before, now had Brick nervous. It felt off, though he was walking around this space. What is wrong now? She inquired. The room? I figured you were going to give me such an answer, but if you could please give a better explanation. The carpet feels off. As if the stone was listening to him and to answer out to that call out as he stepped down on a spot that didn't return the usual noise of a footstep on stone. This was a more wooden thunk. And because of this you're now not going to sleep? Because you've found something? Yep. Also my brain decided to wake up now that we're in here. I don't know why, but that's how it goes. He leaned down, hands running over this flooring, to see if he could find a seam that would lead to a secret passageway. No matter what he did, though, he couldn't find it. I'm going to claim this bed. You can do whatever you want. This place is mine. All of it. You're claiming all of the bed. It is huge. She bit her lip and looked it over, and then frowned. I guess you could have a small edge of it if you promised to come to bed right now. After all, it's what you wanted, and you stay on your side. That's the deal. The need for sleep was suddenly coming back quite quickly to him, and so he rose from his spot. Yeah, I can do all of that, he said to her. Really? I thought you were going to offer to save the day again. You really don't think much of me at all, do you? No, I do not. He plopped onto the bed at a little spot near the bottom of it and away from her as he unsuccessfully fought off a yawn. Then he just fully plopped onto his side after taking off his shoes and finding a pillow to rest his head on, and he was soon completely unconscious. "There, you two are! Wake up! There is work to be done!" The familiar yet distant voice made Brick's eyes snap open, the feeling of a pair of arms wrapped around him, giving him some comfort, but there was still something wrong here. The warmth at his back was a really nice feeling as well, but his gaze soon turned to see King Ollis standing not far away, looking pale and slightly rotten. "Silvia." "I need sleep, Brick," she muttered. "Yeah, I think that might be a problem." "No problem." The grip from those arms around him tightened, and it let him know that it was her doing the holding. She'd wanted all that space in the bed, and when it came down to all of it, somehow she'd taken up his spot on it, and was clinging to him. I thought they were now more centered in the bed, so maybe he'd moved, maybe he hadn't. Not that he minded all of this, and it was rather nice. There still was more important matters, though. "I am glad you two are getting along, but we must move things along." "What do you mean, King?" "What moving on do we need to do? Also, I think you have a guy who is trying to betray you, a Lord Jest or something like that," Brick said. "Don't worry about him, it doesn't matter." "He threw a lot of magic at us to complete some sort of spell. Was that what you wanted?" Brick asked. Silvia was shifting in the bed, and he couldn't tell if she was awake or not, but I guess she was pretending to still be asleep. "Not of my concern. You're here and alive, aren't you?" the king replied. "Not so sure on that front. What do you need from us?" Brick shot back. "Your marriage? What else could we want?" "A baby?" Brick said, as if the answer was obvious. "Well, that'll come soon enough. Up. Let's just go." "Sure, we'll get up. Just excuse us for a second." The king, surprisingly, nodded yes, turned and walked, not to the door, but to the spot where Brick had found what he thought was a secret trap door in the floor. Then the man was gone. Sitting straight up, Brick dragged Silvia along with him, though she let go a second later. The man had gone through an opening that was now in the ground. "Are we supposed to follow him?" the princess asked. "I guess. He didn't say, and I should have asked." "Yes, you should have. Too late now, though, but at least he gave us a few minutes to collect ourselves." She hurriedly shuffled her way off of the bed and towards the back room, which she assumed was where a bathroom was. He too got off the bed, though, and he went towards the hole in the ground that was still there. He peered down it to see the black space with no signs of life or anything in there. "Hello?" His voice, "Hello?" came back to him repeatedly a couple of times. Nothing even flickered down there. "Who are you talking to?" Silvia called out from the bathroom. "The hole." "Any response?" she asked. "No. Do you think we should go down here or go out the door we came in?" She appeared in the doorway in the bathroom, pushing a hand through her hair to get it out of her face, a thoughtful look on her face as she considered what he'd asked. "Well, from our travels about this castle, it doesn't appear that there's a way out of here, so if we follow, we might get somewhere." "Somewhere of more trouble is more likely, I think," Brick replied. "Yes, but what if we don't? Then what happens to us, Brick?" "Well, lots of trouble, likely. And by the way, how is your memory doing? Is it still hazy as of yesterday, or are you back to your usual self?" They waited a moment, but she said nothing more. "So, mostly back then?" She gave a nod and grinned as she came over and looked at the hole with him. "You should freshen up a little bit, and then we'll go down there." With a nod, he did exactly that, and then met her back at this black square that went down into the ground. Silvia looked at him, which probably meant she wanted him to go first, but he stuck around to the door just because he had a thought. trying it, he found that it wouldn't budge. You didn't try it, did you? No, I hadn't had a thought of it, to be honest. The door just didn't appeal to me. Well, it was worth a shot, I guess. Taking a deep breath, he got back and took a moment more before jumping into this square, trying to keep himself as square as possible so that he didn't hit the sides of this trapped space. With a thump, he landed on something soft, if poorly, in a somewhat poorly lit room. Brick didn't feel like he had much time to contemplate this, though, as it felt like this soft substance was sort of swallowing him up. His arms were swimming against some sort of fabric, and then he felt himself getting pushed up through it as a familiar, similar thump sounded nearby. What the hell? The princess called out. It's a cushion, I think. Oh, she responded, surprised. No, mostly on the surface of the cushy cushion, or whatever it was. Brick took a look about his space and found an open door not far away. I think we should go there. Where did the king go? No clue, but I'm sure he'll pop up soon enough to yell at us or something. Can you get out of those cushions, or do you need some help? I am not useless. The two managed to get out of the room with a little bit of struggle from both of them, and they finally entered a kitchen. The smells of cooking food made them stop as they came in. It was almost overpowering, and both stomachs grumbled in response. There was an old lady waddling about, looking over a few stoves and pots and pans that were on these stoves, and turning to them. Well, the king said 2 people would be coming through. I didn't expect it actually to be through the kitchen. Sorry, Miss... Brick said, unsure of what was going on anymore. Oh, no need for that sort of thing. My job is to feed those in the castle. To stuff us full of food, or whatever the king and queen planned? Sylvia asked. The old lady cocked her head to the side towards the princess, studying her for a moment, and then smiled a gentle grin. That would be a terrible thing to do, dear. I love to feed people, but I won't do it for nefarious purposes. No poisons are allowed in my kitchen. Forgive me for asking. You do work for the king and queen of the Dark Covenant Kingdom, right? Not some other king? Yes, King Ollis and Queen Mitra are my masters. They're dead, though, the princess interjected. Oh, I don't think they are, dear princess, but you're allowed to believe that if you want. It was on all the news across the continents. No one would avoid hearing about their deaths. Silvia, perhaps we let that go, because we've seen them up and about, and so something happened to them, but a cook in a kitchen probably isn't going to know much. Brick offered, unsure what else to say. She should. As your boy says, Miss Princess, I don't know anything about death, but I do know food. You'll need to eat for your journey ahead, and I'll wrap up some food for you for that as well. I'm not her boy, in whatever fashion you meant that by. I have better choices than him lined up, the princess objected, putting her hands on her hips. That isn't what King Ollis told me. There will soon be marriage bells ringing in the air, the old lady said, rather gleefully. She gave him an odd look, cocking her head to the other way before turning back to the food she was cooking, and then continued on. Food is all we need to care about. Go sit at that table over there, and we'll get you some. Sylvia moved quickly to be by Brick's arm, grabbing it in a pinch. What are we doing? Being fed. We need food, and right now this lady is offering it. I think it would be dumb not to accept it. Agreed, but we can't exactly trust her either. Well, we aren't. We'll watch carefully and devour any food presented in front of us. Okay, we'll just, keep an eye on everything, he said. She did not respond, merely holding on to his shirt as they went over to the pointed out table. After a good amount of food and feeling a bit stuffed, the nice old lady had told them a new room to go to. It was merely out this door onto a hallway and 7 or so doors down, and that would be where they needed it to be next. The two had gone into that hallway, checked every door along the way, finding mostly storage rooms, before they entered the last door that they could find, the 7th one. Here was a meeting table and a long stretched-out thing with a familiar-looking face sitting at the head of the table. She turned and looked at them when they came in. "Ah, there you two are." "Oh, great. You're here to teach us more things. Is it too late to learn, Miss Jules?" "That is my job, so yes, it is to teach you more things, Silvia." "What more is there to learn about this place?" Brick asked. "Not a lot, but some more important bits. Like how to deal with magic and maybe apparently dead people who are apparently alive." Jules gave Sylvia an odd look for that comment. "I don't know what you're referring to, but I'll assume that has something to do with the people of this kingdom." "Former kingdom? This kingdom fell when its rulers died," Sylvia said. "Though they are running around here apparently alive and trying to force us to get married so that we can produce an heir for them," Brick added with a shrug. "Which shouldn't be happening," Sylvia announced firmly. "Ah, that would explain why these books arrived." Their teacher, Jules, held up 2 big tomes of books, both of which looked like they were struggling to be held up by her. After a second, she put them down with a thunk on the table that she was sitting at. "What are those, Miss Teacher?" "One is on the rights of magic and how to use it. The other is about death and its powers." "Those sound horrible," Brick said. "They do, yes, Mr. Brick, but you'll need to read and learn them," Julia replied. "Both or just one of them?" Brick inquired. "It doesn't matter to me which you choose, but I suspect the king and queen want both. Might be faster if you picked one and then share your knowledge between each other," Jules said. "And you're here to supervise us reading it?" The teacher shook her head and stood up and went towards a door near the back of the room, which was a mirror to the one that they'd come in. There were really only 2 doors in this room, one that they'd come from, and the one that the teacher was headed to. She paused at the door, opening it up and half stepping through before turning to them. "You get to do that all on your own. Please don't try to escape. These doors will be locked." "That would be conducive to making us want to learn most of these things." "I will certainly do something. It is your choice on how to handle all of this or any of this," the princess declared. "I was paid to come in here and tell you all of this, but, not really actually teach you." "Why were you paid to come here?" Brick interrupted. "What is the problem now, Mr. Brick? You can't just ask why. I need to know what exactly you're asking of me," the teacher Jules responded. "I need to know why you're doing this, and why it is important to this whole fucked up situation we're in. Why is this happening?" "Well, I'm doing this because a lot of money was offered to me. As for why it is important to learn, well, it is always important to do so, and it completes the puzzle of this place." A feeling somewhat similar to a shock of lightning, or what so Brick assumed was one, ran down his spine at those words. He'd heard them before, and it was a relation to puzzles, something Henrique had told him years ago about a duke who knew too much, and was a spy master of some repute. His mind was so busy with those ideas he failed to notice that Jules had left. "Brick!" Sylvia called out to him. "Huh? What?" "She left, and you have a dumb expression on your face. Perhaps now might be a great time to fill me in on your past. You have connections that wanted you to come save me or something?" He flinched at that reminder that his past was coming up, but here was perhaps the best time to explain such things. A few things, anyway. If only he knew how much time they had to thoroughly study these books. "Well, it's a bit of a story, but I wasn't exactly sent to find you. more to find out why people were vanished in the area. A bonus to the job was finding any missing princesses or people, which you might not be. I might not even be who you're looking for. He offered a sorry shrug in return before speaking again. Well, things are complicated, but yeah, you may not be the person that everyone is looking for. On the bright side, the spiritist magic seems to want you. Narrowing her eyes, she looked over at him very carefully, makes sort of half grin, half frown, sort of pleased by what I'm saying face. And what does that mean? You who didn't really talk all about magic not that long ago? The spirit or essence or creature or whatever it was of magic wanted to save you from the magic that Lord Jest was throwing at us, you more specifically. Why would she want that? And it is a she? You're talking like it's a she? She said something about saving the day. I don't know what she meant, but she didn't really tell me anything. And why would I trust anything you have to say when you've lied so much to me? Silvia pointed out. Opening his mouth to protest, he found himself unable to speak for a moment. Then, as he moved towards the table and Silvia sat down, a cloud of white mist suddenly whipped up out of nowhere and settled into the seat next to Silvia. Sitting there was the beautiful young woman in a white dress that had a sort of soft aura glow to it. I suppose I'm needed here that you have a minute to talk, and you still want some explanation. I will do my best, young Silvia and Mr. Blick, but please know it is complicated. The two stared at the figure before them, rather dumbfounded. End of Part 3 of Dark Convent Kingdom. Thank you for listening.